Hello, everybody. It's CJ Miller. I'm a resident at Bayou Grande in Shreveport, Louisiana, downtown, across the river from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. And this is, just for my legal purposes, in case I need it, I'm posting it here this day of December the 8th, which is the day that I get this notice. Notice to all residents, everybody. Property cleanliness and maintenance standards. Hey, let's take a walk around the apartment real quick. Not the apartment, the areas that they're talking about. Let's take that quick tour real quick. Firstly, I ensure that my welcome mat is on the inside. They don't want personal property on the outside. How it's going to be. I keep the area outside of my apartment swept and mopped. I cannot and will not be held responsible for people who bring juicy bags of garbage downstairs, or they let small children do it, and it causes a mess. I won't absorb the cost of that, which is what that notice is about. This marking, you may have noticed before. I don't remember if I made a video and posted about this before. These markings have been on these stairs for many years. And that is because maintenance will come and they will do a sweep and a spot mop. About once a month they come here and they do this. These stairs are definitely in a putrid state. Okay? I will agree to that. But this is caused by people who have smaller children and who let their small children, people who let their small children come out and drag heavy bags of trash and try to push them over into these dumpsters. I don't do that. This is due to cars that, let's go around the back. It's due to cars who that have leaks and stuff like that. So they send around notices about that. That doesn't affect me that much because I don't have a car. I want to go back up and I want to read this notice. I'll give you a quick foreshadowing. It is threatening to charge everybody in the buildings for what some people did. I keep a clean apartment. I keep it clean outside of my apartment. I feel that it is illegal if the apartments were to try to charge, if they were to try to charge me for the cost of damage caused by other tenants and other units. And I'm not going to yield on that. This pool remains padlocked and has been padlocked for years. For many years, it was, for that first couple of years actually, it was managed by iTech, and the pool was neglected and dirty and disgusting and just not well kept. Well, they do come over and they do clean this every few months that I've noticed. And it's kept clear, but nobody is allowed to use it. And they haven't been allowed to use it since I've lived here. These markings have been on these stairs for years, and it's because they come and they clean. It's because they come and they clean the hallways, but they do not bother with the stairs. And maintenance does nothing for that either. There's been years of dust bunnies and stuff collecting in that. So yeah, there is an unsanitary situation that's involved, that's evolving here, but it's not due to me. And I'm not going to permit myself to be charged. We're going to read this, or I'm going to read it. Notice to all residents, property cleanliness and maintenance standards, December the 8th, 2025. Hang on one second. Ziggy, what is today's date?
Today's December 9th, 2025.
Okay, glad I did that. So I got this. I guess they issued this, but then we got them this morning. I noticed this morning. So they brought this around after 5 o'clock yesterday, December 9th. But it's written December the 8th, whatever. Notice to all residents, property cleanliness and maintenance standards, date December the 8th, 2025. Properties affected, building 1041 and 1061. I'm in 1061. Okay, Shreveport Housing Authority Management. So, Shreveport Housing Authority Management is potentially breaking the law because they are attempting to charge, or they're setting up a situation in which they want to charge all of the tenants that live in these buildings, particularly, for what some of the tenants are doing. You don't do that. You identify the tenants that are breaking the laws, the rules, the lease. You identify them and you evict them. You do not charge everybody else money for a professional cleaning. And you have people that come here, they come at least once a month when it's time to do pest control. That they're going to do that Friday. But what I'm going to do is another walkthrough come Friday. And I'm going to show you how those markings on those stairs will still be there. you know, because especially that first marking. But some of those markings, and it's building up and accumulating. I will give them that. But part of the neglect has to do with the fact that when they come around and they do the sweeping and the mopping of those floors out there once a month, they do not touch or bother with those stairs. I am not going to absorb the cost. They just raised my rent from $847, something like that. They raised it to over $1,100. And they did that at the end of September going into November. And it's just now December. So for that amount of an increase, I'm definitely not going to absorb the cost of more money. That's total. That's the rent for this apartment total. That's, and that's supposed to be a tax exempt or tax break or something like that for the lower income. They're supposed to get so that's the rent for the tax, whatever, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. But, okay, so important notice regarding building cleanliness and common area maintenance. Dear valued residents, if I were valued, you wouldn't be threatening me. And this is a very threatening note. This notice is being issued to address serious concerns regarding the cleanliness and sanitation of our properties, especially buildings 1041 and 1061. During recent property inspections, management has observed unacceptable conditions in common areas, including hallways, stairwells, and hallway walls. Current issues identified. Management has documented the following problems during recent inspections: trash and debris in hallways and stairwells. Well, y'all hardly ever manage the stairwells. So, marks and soiling on hallway walls created by tenant activity. I use handrails when I come up. I don't use walls. Improper disposal of garbage in common areas. I take my garbage out in smaller bags, tied. I put them into the garbage dumpsters. And I do not throw them all over. If there ever were a case where something would fall out or something, I would immediately pick it back up. But I do not cause this mess that they're complaining about. Despite management substantial investment in hiring professional cleaning services to maintain hallway and breezeway areas, the conditions have deteriorated due to continued neglect and misuse by residents, and that is not entirely true. You see, they do come once Maybe sometimes I've seen them twice a month, but usually I just notice them once a month on pest control day. And they're here and they're cleaning the halls. They do not mop those stairs. They don't do anything regarding those concrete stairs. They do not. They never touch them. And you've seen those dust bunnies collecting in those corners in those tall parts of the building. They don't do anything like that. They're going to have to bring people in to do that anyway. We can't, whatever. Your lease obligations. Your lease agreement explicitly requires compliance with maintenance and cleanliness standards. Specifically, paragraph 20, limitations on conduct of your lease contract states, the apartment and other areas reserved for your private use must be kept clean and free of trash, garbage, and other debris. My private area is always clean. When they come every month, Miss Ferris, the assistant manager, always compliments me on how clean my unit is and how nice it smells. I use Fabuloso with a lavender scent, and I use air fresheners, and I really try to make it nice, especially when I know that it is time for that monthly pest control, which again will be Friday. So I'm going to make this video, and then I'm going to do another video Friday after that, and we shall see. Trash must be disposed of at least weekly in appropriate receptacles in accordance with local ordinances. Yes, I do that. Cool, whatever. I take my trash out, and it's not messy, drippy, anything like that. Passageways may be used only for entry or exit. You agree to keep all passageways and common areas free of obstructions such as trash, storage items, and all forms of personal property. You are legally bound to maintain these standards. I do. Which is why I'm not going to permit to be charged for this next part. I'm not going to agree to this. New enforcement policy effective immediately. Effective immediately, the following policy will be enforced to ensure compliance with lease obligations and maintain safe, sanitary living conditions. Well, first they need to get it sanitary in the first place. Inspection and charges. Scheduled inspections. Management will conduct regular inspections of hallways and breezeways in buildings 1041 and 1061 as they do every month, because they come here and they see this, and the assistant manager, Ms. Ferris, comes every month. Like I said, she's complimented my apartments, the way I keep it. 2, non-compliance charges. This is what I will not agree with, and this will turn into a very legal matter. Stay tuned. Watch me work. If during any inspection, hallways, stairways, or breezeways in your building are found to be unclean, soiled, or contain trash or debris, all residents of that building will be charged the full cost of professional cleaning services to restore these areas to acceptable standards. No, you do not charge me for the damage that is caused by another tenant. In the city of Shreveport, in the parish, we have parishes here instead of counties in Louisiana, in the parish of Caddo Parish, the area known as Caddo Parish, and in the state of Louisiana, it is illegal for a landlord to charge one tenant the damages caused by another tenant in another dwelling. It is illegal for them to do that. This is a statement of an intent for them to commit a crime. That's not going to happen. All residents of that building will be charged the full cost of professional cleaning services. No, this does not state that the cost will be split among the residents. It says that all residents of that building will be charged the full cost. No, each dwelling will be charged a full cost. No. I'm not going to be charged any of the cost because I'm not going to sign what they want me to sign. And stay tuned for that. Cleaning costs. Residents will be responsible for reimbursing management for all professional cleaning expenses, including labor and materials. No, because one of the reasons why it's in the condition that it is in now is because for many, many years, the maintenance will come and they will sweep and they will mop the hardwood floors in the hallway. They do not. They do not mess with those stairs. It's very seldom that they do anything to those stairs. That kind of mess that I just showed you, that is not the result of even 1 month. If they were to do that once a month, that kind of buildup and nastiness, that's not 1 month worth of spill. That is years. That's my proof right there of what I'm talking about. Specific requirements for residents and their families. To avoid violations and associated charges, I'm avoiding it now, and I really would suggest they don't push me on this. All residents, occupants, and guests must comply with the following requirements. Protection of common area surfaces. Hallway walls must remain clean and unmarked. I cannot help what other people's children do. Do not permit children or household members. I am the only person in my household. Sometimes I'll have company over, very seldom. It's, holidays or something like that. Yeah, but no. But hardly ever had people come over. So do not permit children or household members to place their hands, marks, or soiling on hallway walls. Good luck with that. Children are children, but I'll tell you what, I don't have children. All food spills, stains, or marks must be immediately cleaned. I totally agree with that. And of course, I would if that were the situation, but I don't eat. I don't touch things. I don't create stains on those halls. Prohibition of drawing, writing, or marks on any walls is strictly enforced. Well, I haven't seen any graffiti out there. I have seen damage to the paint, chipped and peeled away paint that has been that way for years. Since I've been living here, and I've been living here since they've maybe 4 to 6 months after they've been open. That's when I moved in. I was the first tenant in this particular apartment, I do believe. As a matter of fact, there was a problem. I'll go this far. There was a problem with my dishwasher when I moved in, and I let them know immediately, hey, my dishwasher does not work unless I stand and press and lean against the door to hold it shut, so that it's the way that the door fit. It's the way that the main door fit, and otherwise it's not working. And eventually, and it may be due to settling or something in the building too. This is when it was built, and then the ground settled and everything. Where maybe when they first installed it, it worked, and then the building settled, and then by the time I moved in, the door didn't fit right because of the settling. I don't know. I don't know that kind of stuff, but I do know that they just, at the start of 2025, that's when right around that time anyway. It's been just about a year, and I've been here for about 4 years. So for about 3 years, I really didn't have a proper working dishwasher. It took them that long. And there was one management property, ITEX, ITEX, that was managing for the first couple of years. And then the Housing Authority of Shreveport took over. And things were a little better for a while, but the cleanliness, no, that's not on the residents. That's certainly not on me. I'll tell you that much. They better not try to charge. But look, let's see, proper trash disposal. Okay, children under 16 years of age are strictly prohibited from dragging trash, garbage bags, and debris through hallways or stairwells. Trash must be carried carefully to avoid spillage, must be disposed of directly in designated dumpster areas. I do all of that, and I do not have children. And sometimes the children will come around and they'll knock on the door and they'll say, "Can we take your trash out for a dollar?" I think they kind of backed off on that because they don't come to me anymore. But I take my own garbage out, and I always told them that, hey, in a polite way, "No, sir, I take my own garbage out. I'm sorry." But yeah, you'll see that in the summertime, especially the kids are coming around for extra money. They'll try to take garbage out. I don't do that, because it is not permitted in the lease. I want to back up here. Where they're quoting the lease, paragraph 20. Paragraph 19 says any part of the lease that is not in compliance with the law is null and void. It does not void the entire lease, but it does void any particular clause in the lease that would be null and void, and only that clause. If this is meant to be an addendum to that, it is certainly null and void by the law. But let's continue on. This was the first page, and I'm going to flip it back over to where we were here. We were here reading about children 16 years of age. Come over here. Oh yes, I'm doing this to cover because I'm not gonna allow them to bill me when they've not maintained the building. Okay. Parents and guardians are responsible for ensuring compliance with this requirement. I'm neither a parent nor a guardian. Failure to supervise children, compliance will be treated as violation by the responsible adult resident. All groovy, not my issue, not my problem, but I'm also not going to allow myself to be charged for it. I'll tell you how long it's been since these stairs have really been maintained. When I first moved in, those stairs, especially that one in the entrance, that front entrance, the one that looked really, really disgusting, those stairs have been stained like that. They were stained like that when I moved in, and I did observe the family that lived across the hall and on the other side of the building towards the front on the third floor. They would let those little children take down big, huge, giant black kitchen Glad bag full of garbage, and they would spill and they would drip, and that is how that buildup started happening in the first place. And that it's been that long since ITEX was managing. It's been that long since these steps have really properly been cleaned that I've observed. So even when the Shreveport Housing Authority took over it, they didn't do the deep cleaning. They did come and they did some deep cleaning, and the garage, not the garage, the parking lot, there are several cars out there that have leaks, that are leaking oil, and they did send around notices about that. I don't drive, I don't have a car, but they did come out and they did power wash that a few months ago. And at that time, it would have been nice if they would have power washed inside of the buildings also there, but that, whatever. I don't know how that maintenance stuff goes. I don't know, but I do know that I'm not responsible for it. Additional requirements. All trash must be disposed of weekly. Weekly in appropriate receptacles as required by your lease. I take my garbage out at least once a day, sometimes twice a day in smaller increments. I'm 53. I don't want to carry big loads up and down the stairs. Hallways and stairways must be used only for entry and exit purposes. You got it. I do not want to hang out in the stairways. There are children that run around. Cameras in the doorways. See that. Children running. They're playing games, hide and seek, running games and stuff like that. Children would be children. That's not my complaint. But if it is a complaint that the management has, they've got a camera focused on each one of the major entrances to the stairs. Those glass doors that let us in, those security doors that we're supposed to only be able to enter with an electric keypad, electric key. They're broken and they haven't ever worked since I've been here. That's how far back it's been that it's been in disrepair, and the children can run in and out and everything like that. They got cameras to see that. So that's up to the maintenance and the management to work with the parents of the children if they have complaints like that. I have no control over that, and I'm not going to allow myself any kind of extra charges due to that. Infraction policy and consequences. Here's the fun stuff. Management is implementing a 3-strike infraction system for violation of cleanliness standards and common area maintenance. When ITEX left after the second year and the housing authority was taking over, they sent to everybody a lease violation due to whatever was going on. Well, I have no control over that. I don't have children. I can't maintain or control. I can only clean my part and in front of my apartment. I'm not going to be responsible for sweeping them up and all up and down these concrete steps. And I'm not going to take the responsibility of other tenants and their children when they mess them up, because I know that I don't. First infraction, formal right. So since they sent that around to everybody without any sort of anything, it's like that was just illegal for them to do that. That was illegal, number one. I'm not exactly certain sending out blanket warnings like this is legal. This may constitute a harassment because this happens frequently. 2 days ago, I got a notice that was about the cars that leaks and threatening to evict just a towing and possibly all that kind of stuff. That's great that you're giving this public notice, but you just cannot just evict everybody that lives in the building when everybody in the building is not responsible for breaking the rules. I'm not gonna stand for that. I can't speak for everybody. I'm not going to. First infraction, formal written warning issued to the household. Well, I have not gotten that. I did get that first notice, but then I went immediately to the choice neighborhood and initiated that, and just denied and just rebuked it. Basically, I'm not owning that. Whatever, that's garbage. So and I would do that if they came back and they tried that again. I would. They did at one point come around just a few months ago and give me a lease violation simply for having candles on my table, the table that I'm sitting at right now. I wasn't home when they came in to do that pest control, and they did a cursory walkthrough, as they do when they just look around and they basically. But at that point, they came back and it's like, we have seen evidence of you burning candles. No, I have decorative candles. I do not light them. I don't, But children's birthday. If you have a children's birthday party, they're not allowed to have a candle, a birthday candle. How about that? There are people who have grills. You're not supposed to light grills, but yeah, whatever. I don't know. There's all sorts of things. Hanukkah, if you're Jewish and you live here, don't light a menorah. There's no protection against legal practice. If your religion allows you or requires you to light a candle for vigil or anything like that, don't do that. You can't do it. So I had a candle right here on my wall. But yeah. So second, formal written warning, tenant may be required to pay a portion of remedial cleaning costs. No, I will not. I would legally fight that. Consider this the first step in case I need that, in case I need to do that. Third infraction, final notice, full compliance required. I thought full compliance was already required anyway. So anyway, lease violation and eviction. After 3 confirmed infractions for breach of paragraph 20, limitations on conduct of your lease contract, the following actions may be taken. Management will provide written notice of lease violation. Okay. Eviction proceedings may be initiated in accordance with the lease contract and applicable Louisiana laws. Well, that's what we're talking about here, aren't we? This notice is not in compliance with applicable Louisiana law. You cannot charge me for the damage created by another tenant. You may be required to vacate the property. On Halloween night, one of the neighbors, I came home. My friends dropped me off. I'd been out to a party. My friends dropped me off, and I was not allowed to enter the building. The firemen, the policemen, and the fire brigade and everything, they were out here. A neighbor on the second floor, I'm not going to mention the apartment number or anything like that, but on the second floor, there was some sort of incident where they either attempted to start a fire in the building or threatened to start a fire in the building, and the fire brigade and the police came. They wouldn't let me enter the building until they had that all sorted out or whatever. And so I actually had to wait outside after coming home after the Halloween party that I did. I had to wait outside for about 25 minutes until I was permitted to come in. So, I don't do stuff like that. I don't carry on like that. Most of the time, there's nothing like that happens. I guess it just got a little out of hand that night. But near as I can tell, those people are still in their apartment. So, management will provide written notice of lease violation. Eviction proceedings may be initiated in accordance with your lease contract and applicable Louisiana law, right? 30 minutes into this, right? You may be required to vacate the property. All associate legal fees, court costs, and collection fees will be my responsibility, if that were the case, whatever. Pursuant to paragraph 33, default by resident of your lease contract, residents waive the right to notice of termination of the lease, and management may proceed with immediate eviction proceedings upon the third infraction. I don't heretofore waive anything if it's not applicable by Louisiana law. I certainly don't waive it. There's also a clause in there that says that anything that I would waive a jury and that it would be a judge. Again, only if that is allowed by law. But if the law allows that I am allowed any kind of jury in any sort of like a residential proceedings or something like that, then I would make that decision then. But no, I don't waive any of my heretofore. I do not waive any of my rights locally, civilly or legally. Of course, who would do that? That's foolish. But I'm glad they're seeing that. But whatever. That may or may not be legal. If it's legal that they do that and have it in there, that's fine. But I don't know that that's legal. Hey, listen, it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye. Let's put it that way. And I am the eye that is not going to be lost. I'll tell you that much. Pursuant to paragraph 33, default by resident, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Parental responsibility. Parents and legal guardians are responsible for the actions of all minor children and occupants in their household. Violations caused by children under 16 years of age. Well, I think there's more to it. I was going to say they should be responsible for violations caused by all children under or over 16 years of age. I think they put it that way because 17 is the legal age of legal consent in the state of Louisiana for all that kind of whatever. But parents, something, where were we? Parents and legal guardians are responsible for the affection. Violations caused by children under 16 years of age will be attributed to the responsible adult resident and will result in infractions against your lease. That is great. Again, I don't have children. I don't have a roommate. I hardly ever have company, and my company, they know to respect. I run it very strict here. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't allow that stuff here. And actually, smoking is not allowed by lease anyway. So, uh, I don't smoke, and I don't allow other people to smoke in the apartment. Um, um, so, under 16 will be attributed to the responsible adult resident and will result in infractions against your lease. That includes, but not limited to, dragging trash or garbage through common areas. They've known about this for years. Why haven't they done anything? Making marks or soiling on hallway walls. Those stairs, they've thrown dirt on them. Leaving debris or personal property in hallways or stairwells. Any other violation of paragraph 20 requirements. Go after the people who are doing the violation, that you notice it. You don't come after and threaten to charge everybody in the building money. I'm not going to agree to that. Management support and resources. Management remains committed to provide you with the safe, clean, and sanitary living environment, except the stairs have not been swept or mopped by maintenance for years. The hallways have, the stairs have not. Professional cleaning services are available to all residents. However, residents must take responsibility for maintaining common areas in accordance with lease obligations. Well, you do not see debris outside of my door. I don't even keep a welcome mat out there anymore, uh, you know, uh, or a foot mat or something. You know what I mean? Because I don't want any kind of confusion. Compliance is mandatory. Failure to comply with these requirements constitutes a breach of your lease contract and may result in lease violation notices, charges for professional cleaning services, infractions recorded against your tenancy, eviction proceedings after 3 infractions, attorney's fees, court costs, and legal collection fees. Well, there are many amenities in public areas, such as the swimming pool and the broken security doors, all these things that are to be maintained by the property management that do not get maintained. I feel like it's probably a violation of their terms if they do not do that. It'd be one thing if it's like, hey, it's gone a couple of months. Look, it took me 3 years to get a working dishwasher, a properly working dishwasher. And I've got evidence to that effect. Your continued tenancy depends upon your compliance with lease obligation and these cleanliness standards. This notice is effective immediately and applies to all residents of building 1014 and 1041 and 1061. Acknowledge receipt of this notice by signing below and returning to management within 3 business days. I am not. And the reason why I am not is because I am not going to sign off on anything that might be legally permissible to charge me for cleaning when those stairs have been unmaintained, even by the maintenance staff, for many years. At least the last 3 years, they have not really done that. But that I have observed, I have not seen them sweeping and mopping. I've seen them on the hallways. I have not seen them on the stairs. I'm not going to do this, and I'm sorry. I know there's probably some sort of in-house thing where maybe the professional hallway cleaners, the maintenance that comes around, they clean it. The housekeeping, whatever, they probably say, hey, we do clean those stairs. They do not. That buildup, that is not the result of 1 month. That is the result of a few years of not being cleaned. And there you have it. I'm CJ Miller. I'm declining to sign this. And, because if this is an amendment to the current lease, that they would be able to come around and charge for professional cleaning to me for the result of other tenants, That is illegal in the state of Louisiana. If they want some assistance with professional cleaning, they're going about it the wrong way. They need to have a tenants meeting. They need to ask everybody if they are willing to contribute, to make a small contribution to help for the professional cleaning of the concrete stairs that are inside. I would only agree to that if they would also fix the security doors and go back to having everybody only enter the building with that electric keypad, that electric card or something like that. That's the only way I would even remotely consider, and that's if it's a community effort. This is wrong. This is not the proper way. This is a very aggressive way of communicating. I'm a person with a bipolar disorder. I have spent a lot of time in therapy learning how not to communicate aggressively, but learning how to communicate assertively. Also, a big part of my disorder is an acute attention to detail, especially in written contracts. Trust, but verify. And yes, I do verify. And this suggestion, this threat, to charge is illegal. You don't charge somebody for the cost of damage. Let's see. Where's that suggestion at? New schedule. Here we go. All residents of the building will be charged the full cost of professional cleaning services. That boldface is that's an attempt to do something that is illegal. You cannot charge one tenant for the damage caused by another tenant that resides in another unit that's unassociated to the unit that the first tenant resides in, me. All that other damage is unassociated to my unit. They cannot charge me. That's illegal. I'm not going to go for that. Now, as you can see, I'm being caused some sort of duress. That is why I have talked for 42, going on 45 minutes here, making a video. And yes, I am going to post this to my YouTube. These types of situations are detrimental to the calmness that is essential to the mental health of the person who has a bipolar disorder and who is under medical treatment for it. So there you go. That's I came out when I was a teenager against my family as not being, well, yes, being a Christian, but also being a looking around at other means of spiritual answers, and that freaked them out. Later on, I came out as gay in my late teens and early 20s, came out as gay to my friends and family. I did all that, and so now I guess I can openly talk about being bipolar and how things like this are unhealthy for the bipolar person. But I've had a lot of therapy, and I've had a lot of professional assistance, and I've been thinking about and dealing with this all day long. Just I've spoken to the home office of the housing authority who manages, and they advised me to look at Article 19 in my lease, and that is the one that says that all anything of the lease is null and void if it is not in keeping with Louisiana law. And of course, that says that here. So I'm not trying to cause trouble, but I am trying to protect myself from trouble. And I will do so by any legal means necessary. Thank you all for listening, and love and light, peace to everybody, including my management. This all breaks down to better communication. We need a better means of communication other than threatening letters. We do need that. We need to maybe, maybe have a community forum and ask people to come to it, and and have that discussion, and then send them, whatever. But yeah, if you've got people, doing this, and you can observe who's dragging drippy trash down because you have cameras. If you see that, go after the people who are creating the infractions. You don't charge everybody. And so as of right now, I cannot sign this notice. I am not legally required to sign this notice or to acknowledge receipt of anything, because that might constitute agreement with this, and I do not. I'll tell you something else. When they raised my rent to $1,111, I went to pay the app. I went to pay in the app. That was last month, and they had not changed my rent. And I went to the assistant manager, Miss Ferris, and we had this conversation. And you can read about it on my local Google. I posted about it in a Google review of this incident, as well as being written up for having a candle in the apartment. The candle was not lit. I was not home. I didn't, so I don't light the candle. It's decorative, As a matter of fact, it's right there. And there's another one. There's two of them. So yeah, this table is cluttered right now. So anyway, but with plates and paper. I've been going through paper. My mail. I just opened up my mail and stuff. So I do all that. So, but anyway. You can tell I get distressed by this. And so not only is this illegal, this is kind of harassing in nature, and they need a better means to communicate. If you're a landlord in your areas, sometimes maybe you feel like you have to get a little heavy-handed and everything, but you don't threaten all of your tenants for the behaviors and the activities of some of your tenants. If you do that in the state of Louisiana, that's illegal. This property is managed by the Shreveport Housing Authority. It receives money from the state, and also I believe there's some federal funding that comes. So it may be answerable in those jurisdictions as well. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it. But I feel the need to protect myself against this. This is what's happening. And I'm sorry to post this here. I love Shreveport. My channel is really about my relationship with my city and my downtown neighborhood, and I love it. I love living here at Bayou Grand, but they do need to not threaten us with this, Also, get that pool open. We pay for it. We need to be able to use it. Love and light. God bless. Peace. Good night.